Sunwoo is a headstrong girl boss who thinks her life is a fairy tale since she has a loving and kind husband to support her. Everything changes when she discovers that this picture-perfect husband is actually a cheater, after which she's forced to plan a meticulous revenge that would leave him in ruins. Episode 1. But before this, our love-struck heroine feels like a newlywed when her husband Tae Oh returns from a trip, and they have breakfast with their son Jun-young. After this, as she's on her way to the hospital where she works as a doctor, Tae Oh gives her his muffler, and she falls for him all over again. However, her perfect fantasy quickly cracks when she finds a red hair strand on it, which obviously belongs to a woman, on top of her growing anxiety. When she meets her husband's secretary, Mi-yeon, she tells her that Tae Oh gets off from work at 5 but doesn't get home until 7. The next day, Sunwoo plays the detective herself and follows him after he gets off work, only to find him visiting his sick mother. She feels guilty for suspecting him and apologizes, and Tae Oh, being the best husband ever, forgives her. However, just minutes later, Sunwoo finds out from the nurses that Tae Oh hadn't visited his mother in months, until today. Following this, Sunwoo's growing suspicion, along with her denial, makes her bribe her old patient, Hyun-seo, to follow Tae Oh one day. Turns out every day her perfect husband goes to meet a girl behind her back. Since Sunwoo still can't believe he could be such a bastard, she checks the trunk of his car, only to find a bag with personal stuff and a phone, in which she sees a picture of a young woman. She digs deeper and discovers that all her friends are in on this little game of betrayal, and have been hanging out with Tae Oh and his side chick. Episode 2. Sunwoo swallows her feelings and still goes to Tae Oh's party, where she notices how her husband is acting like a Sigma towards her, but at the same time, he's sneakily touching Da-kyung, the infamous side chick. Unable to withstand this, Sunwoo decides to run away before she goes on a murder rampage. The very next day, she gets a hospital visit from none other than the homeworker Da-kyung, who talks to Sunwoo condescendingly, knowing full well that she is having an affair with her husband. However, Sunwoo pretends she is unfazed when she informs her about her pregnancy, even though she's internally dying, knowing it's her husband's love child. Da-kyung's sassiness also pops like a balloon when she realizes just how screwed she is. Still, Sunwoo brings up this topic in front of Tae Oh again, and asks no, practically begs him to come clean so they can move forward, only for him to lie once again. After this, she asks Myung-suk, her fake friend at the hospital, to tell Tae Oh about the pregnancy since she wants him to choose her. However, when he runs away like his pants are on fire, she realizes that there is no hope in their long-dead marriage, and that she has no choice except to give him the taste of his own medicine. Episode 3. Meanwhile, the two cheaters start to realize that their actions have consequences, and Da-kyung asks her married boyfriend to leave his family once and for all. Like the coward he is, Tae Oh promises to be a better man for her because apparently he loves both of them, one for stability and the other for the young hot girl bonus. Sunwoo, on the other hand, wants to get her affairs in order, but she realizes that her husband is not only a lying cheater, but he's also a mooch. He takes money from his wife and spends it on his side chick, while the naive Da-kyung thinks her boyfriend is worth something. Spoiler alert, he's not. She later visits her mother-in-law at the facility, which she's paying for in her broke husband's stead. She informs her about the divorce she's planning, but like any other boy mom, her mother-in-law tries to defend her good-for-nothing son. Karma gets back at her, and she passes away the next morning, which pushes back Sunwoo's divorce even further. On top of it all, she still has to gather evidence against Tae Oh and take measures to win child custody. So she puts on a brave face and pretends everything is fine. Tae Oh, on the other hand, believes he's a mastermind and everything is working in his favor. Episode 4. To help Sunwoo, Hyun-seo befriends Da-kyung to gather insider information and evidence. Meanwhile, to stir up issues, Sunwoo tells Da-kyung's father that his daughter is seeing someone. Later, Sunwoo accidentally bumps into Jae-hyuk, Tae Oh's handsome married friend, and Ye-rim's husband, who tells her that he knows about the affair and wants to get drinks with her. Since Tae Oh's affair has made her question her worth, She agrees to the date as a way to boost her ego. A few days later, Tae Oh takes his family out for a fancy dinner, only to bump into his side chick and her family. Sunwoo, who wants to see the two cheaters tremble in fear, invites them to have dinner together and makes things so awkward that Tae Oh has no choice but to flee the scene. Later, she dresses up and leaves the house, looking like a bombshell, leaving Tae Oh jealous as the taste of his own medicine does not feel nice. Sunwoo, on the other hand, is so engrossed in hurting her husband that she sleeps with Jae-hyuk. Dakyung, on the other hand, finally realizes that she will always be the other woman and tells her boyfriend about the abortion, making the world-class cheater. We realize he has lost both his wife and the +1. Episode 5. Like every other liar, Tae Oh knows something is not right with Sunwoo, but he can't seem to stop her from acting strangely around him. Meanwhile, Sunwoo is gathering all the ammo she can when she goes to see if Jae-hyuk has found some dirt on Tae Oh's financial status, only to realize that her good-for-nothing husband's company is broke as heck. Later that night, Jae-hyuk storms into her house and shamelessly threatens Sunwoo that he'll spill the beans to her husband if she does not sleep with him. Sunwoo, being the smart woman that she is, knows that it's time to rip the band-aid off and kick her useless husband to the curb. She surprises Tae Oh with a dinner plan with Dakyung's parents and gloats when she sees the panic on his face. She puts on a show making everyone uncomfortable, and Tae Oh trembles in fear. However, since she is ready for revenge, Sunwoo reveals that Byung-kyu, Dakyung's father, is her husband's latest investor, and the chick is left in shock, realizing that her boyfriend was with her because of her dad's money. She drops another bomb that Dakyung is pregnant with her husband's love child, and her parents are shocked, thinking about what their daughter has become. Like a badass woman, she leaves the hellhole and tells Tae Oh that it is over between them and that she'll drag him across the courts if he ever tries to come back. Episode 6, the two homewreckers realize that there is no one left for them but each other, so they shamelessly get back together. At Dakyung's place, which was brought from Sunwoo's money, Tae Oh receives the divorce papers. However, he is not ready to leave like a half-decent man, and like some classic psychotic bastard, wants to take revenge as if Sunwoo is the one who destroyed his precious life. He files a complaint against Sunwoo, and when she confronts him, he pushes all her buttons until Sunwoo loses it and smacks him across the face. Realizing how she fell into his trap, she runs away, but her psycho ex angrily follows. Sunwoo gets to her son first and takes him to a secret location where she tells him about the divorce as nicely as she can. But Junyoung has his father's genes and he refuses to listen. He cries that he wants to live with his father despite all the horrible things he has done and begs his mother to forgive him so they can live as a family again. Sunwoo is gutted but knows she needs to play her cards right. So she baits Tae Oh into thinking she's killed their son. Panicked, Tae Oh starts hitting Sunwoo until she's left bleeding on the ground. However, just then, Junyoung walks in and screams at his father to leave and never come back. And like that, Sunwoo forces Tae Oh to sign the divorce papers and grant her full custody of their son. Meanwhile, Dakyung is rightfully shamed by everyone for being a homewrecker. So, the couple decides to leave the town for a fresh start. Sunwoo is now finally free of her good-for-nothing husband, and all seems well for her as she moves forward with her son. Episode 7, Sunwoo and Junyoung spend the next 2 years in peace. But just when everything seems perfect, an invitation card arrives in the mail. And guess what? Both the cheaters are back in town, and throwing a lavish party to flaunt how happy and successful they are. Tae Oh takes Junyoung for a meal and brags about his success as a producer, baiting his son into coming to his party. Later, Tae Oh meets Sunwoo to trigger her and start a fight, but Sunwoo puts on a brave face for her son. It all falls apart when Tae Oh sends Sunwoo a picture of him and Junyoung together at the party, and she realizes that her son has also become a liar like his father. Sunwoo races to retrieve her son and realizes the whole town is at the party, including her so-called friends, and now they all are judging her for coming. Da-kyung tries to shame her for showing up, but when Sunwoo flashes the invitation letter, the ex-mistress is stunned and Tae Oh looks guilty. Somehow, Sunwoo ends up in their bedroom, where Tae Oh threatens her to leave the town, but since she is not afraid of him, she leaves him hanging. Meanwhile, Da-kyung sees Sunwoo coming out of her bedroom and gets suspicious. The very next day, Tae Oh whips out a secret phone in which there are pictures of Sunwoo taken by a stalker. He knows everything about her and now wants to ruin her life after she has humiliated him by divorcing him. Episode 8. Soon enough, Sunwoo's house is attacked and she and her son are freaked out because the police can't find the culprit. To make matters worse, Jun-young calls his father for help, and Tae Oh cockily helps Sunwoo and repeatedly tells her that the house needs a man, as if he wasn't the one who wrecked their house in the first place. The next day, Da-kyung's father visits Tae Oh in his office and scolds him. Tae Oh lacks any respect in that household and is constantly berated by his father-in-law. So to kiss his ass, Tae Oh offers to donate to the hospital where Sunwoo works, but on the condition that they fire Sunwoo from her post. Meanwhile, Myung-suk takes it as another opportunity to stab Sunwoo in the back and tries to lobby the chairman's wife while getting massages. Luckily, Hyun-seo listens to their conversations and informs Sunwoo of the scheme Tae Oh is plotting. On the other hand, Sunwoo discovers that her son is getting therapy without her knowing because of the divorce. Dr. Kim, his doctor, advises her to give Jun-young some space, and Sunwoo reluctantly agrees to send her son for dinner with his father and his new family. Meanwhile, a mysterious man dressed in black attacks Sunwoo while she is alone in her house. Sunwoo fights back and calls Dr. Kim for help. Luckily, Ye-rim, her neighbor, sees the commotion from her room and calls the police, but they are late and Sunwoo is already injured. Sunwoo has her suspension on Tae Oh, so she confronts him at his office and they fight. But, like always, Tae Oh lies to her and Sunwoo storms out, knowing full well how her ex has fallen from grace. Meanwhile, Da-kyung knows from experience that Tae Oh can't be trusted, so she has her spies at his office. When she gets to know about Sunwoo's visit, she starts suspecting Tae Oh once again. She wants to keep tabs on her enemy, which is why when Sunwoo asks to join the Ladies' Association, Da-kyung votes for her. Later, Tae Oh meets with a sleazy criminal and berates him for physically attacking Sunwoo. It turns out he was the one terrorizing Sunwoo at her house because he wanted to drive her out of the town. However, like always, his third-rate plan backfires on him because Sunwoo is already suspecting him and will eventually get to the bottom of the truth. Moving on with the story, Da-kyung corners Sunwoo in the bathroom like a mean girl in high school and asks her why she joined the association. But Sunwoo is too old for Da-kyung's little girl games, so she straight up asks her to tame her husband because he is stalking her. Now troubled with fear that her husband is still in love with his ex, Da-kyung and Tae Oh go to dinner together, but they see that Sunwoo and Dr. Kim are on a dinner date. Just like every other man, Tae Oh can't see his ex happy and moving on, and Da-kyung notices that Sunwoo might be telling the truth. Later, Tae Oh then meets the criminal In-gyu who broke into Sunwoo's home and refuses to pay him for his sloppy work. In-gyu threatens him in return, but as always, it falls on Tae Oh's deaf ears. The next day, Sunwoo is getting ready for her appointment with the hospital's chairman when she receives a bloody package with a dead bird and Jun-young's picture inside. Meanwhile, Tae Oh receives a picture of his son. Both the parents freak out like they should and alert the police. After searching for hours for him, they finally find Jun-young, who just missed the academy because he was in a teenage rebellious mood. There, the jerk In-gyu threatens Sunwoo by bumping into her, and Sunwoo realizes that her sleazy husband can even stoop this low. On the other side, Da-kyung is still worried, so she goes to Tae Oh's office and opens the second phone, which has pictures of Sunwoo. Sunwoo's mind is focused on the fact that this criminal, who is also Hyun-seo's ex, is back. Sunwoo wants to help her, but Min-hyun is living in her own delusional world, believing that her ex has now changed into a better man. Later, Tae Oh asks his accountant to withdraw some money to pay off the abusive jerk, not knowing that his father-in-law doesn't trust him a bit and is keeping tabs. The very next day, Sunwoo meets Chairman Yo and says he crossed a line while coming for her job, and that Tae Oh is a loser and the worst husband anyone could ask for. This hits a nerve for the chairman, who already thinks his baby girl, innocent, smart, and talented daughter Da-kyung, deserves better. On the other hand, Min-hyun realizes that she can't live with her abusive ex, even if he has money, and that her peace is worth more, so she informs Sunwoo where he lives. Sunwoo wants confirmation that her ex was behind attacking her, so she foolishly pays a visit to the criminal to get evidence. However, she fails to get it, but knows that there is no end to the madness, so she asks Min-hyun to leave. Meanwhile, the abusive ex realizes Min-hyun is running away from him, so he goes to find her. Sunwoo gives Min-hyun her scarf and leaves, but when she sees the criminal running inside the station, she goes to help her again. However, she can't find both of them, and just minutes later, someone jumps from the roof and dies. Sunwoo sees her bloody scarf and thinks it's Min-hyun, but before she can have a breakdown, Dr. Kim arrives and takes her away like her knight in shining armor. Turns out, the person who died was none other than Min-hyun's ex. And surprise, surprise, Mr. Good-for-Nothing Tae Oh was also present at the crime scene. Da-kyung sees Tae Oh cleaning the blood, while knowing that he left his office a while ago and was untraceable for a few hours. Now sure that her loser husband is hiding something sus, she checks his laundry and sees his bloody clothes. The news of In-ji-yu dying spreads like wildfire because Goshen's ladies can't keep their mouths shut. The police arrive at Sunwoo's office to ask about the scarf. She tells the truth, but the rumor starts spreading that the dead man is Sunwoo's boyfriend. Jun-young is bullied, and Tae Oh observes this all but refuses to help his son. Meanwhile, Sunwoo, who has stashed Min-kyun into a safe house, gets to know that Tae Oh threatened to unalive the jerk in front of her, and minutes later, she heard the body hitting the ground. On the other hand, Chairman Yo asks his right-hand man to get the footage of Tae Oh getting out of the crime scene because the loser's son-in-law can't do anything right. Tensions grow between Da-kyung and Tae Oh, and the latter spills the tea. Sunwoo was there and he thinks she unalived In-gu. Da-kyung asks him to tell the cops, but Tae Oh refuses, saying that she's the mother of his child. Meanwhile, Sunwoo and Dr. Kim meet Chairman Yo and ask him to use his influence to make the death an accident, freeing Tae Oh and herself from suspicion. However, there she gets a call from Min-hyun saying that she took matters into her own hands, and now Tae Oh is arrested for unliving her ex. Meanwhile, Tae Oh calls his wife and father-in-law, but no one picks up his phone until he calls his ex and waits for the best. Tae Oh is surprised when Sunwoo comes to bail him out. She lies and says Tae Oh was with her at the time of death, and to prove it, she shows the cops the same wedding ring Min-hyun gave her. Tae Oh returns home, and like the jerk, he dumps his issues on Da-kyung, who realizes that she made a mistake. Sunwoo learns that people are talking about her and the dead man, and the rumors are getting to Jun-young, so like a fearless mama bear, she goes to the woman spreading rumors and threatening her. However, it backfires when Jun-young rips onto Sunwoo for talking to his classmate's mother. Sad and angry, he agrees to meet with Da-kyung, who wants to make amends to her husband. So she cunningly talks sweetly to Jun-young and offers that he come live with them. Jun-young is a kid who is in his rebellious phase, so he packs his bags and goes to Tae Oh's, leaving Sunwoo devastated. But Jun-young does not feel good living with his dad and starts eating and sleeping out. A bit later, Sunwoo bumps into Jun-young and Tae Oh with the kids. They all seem like a real family to her, and it breaks her heart how she can't give Jun-young the stability he needs. Sunwoo realizes that it might be time to move away for her son's sake. Sunwoo and Tae Oh both start discussing where it all went wrong for them. At that moment, they are two broken people with a kid to raise. Tensions are high, and as we all scream no, Sunwoo and Tae Oh kiss, and one thing leads to another, and well, they sleep together as if they are not sabotaging each other's lives. Like every other one-night stand in the city, Sunwoo and Tae Oh know what they did was a one-time mistake, never to be repeated. Later at the hospital, Sunwoo gets to know that Jun-young was in a fight with a fellow, and the parents rush to the hospital to ask the parents not to take action. Turns out it's the same mom whom Sunwoo threatened at the Ladies' Association, so she is extremely salty with Sunwoo. Seeing that her son's future is on the line, Sunwoo dramatically falls to her knees and asks for forgiveness. The boy's mom is enjoying it while Tae Oh and Jun-young hate it, but they can't do anything because when do they ever? To top it off, Da-kyung arrives, and the boy's mom is smitten with her. Sunwoo is humiliated while her ungrateful son, Jun-young, realizes that his mom keeps on embarrassing him, so he asks her to leave. Sunwoo is gutted, but something clicks in her mind, and she asks Jun-young if he walked in on her and his father. He agrees, and both of them are disgusted with themselves as they should be. Sunwoo realizes that she will continue to bring pain to her son, so she now wants to leave immediately for Busan, while Tae Oh has to live in the fear that his son can tell his wife anything about his one-night stand. The next day at the hospital, Sunwoo resigns from the hospital and immediately leaves town and switches off her phone. The next morning, when she misses her appointment with her friend, Dr. Han calls Dr. Kim, worried about Sunwoo's mental health. Tae Oh sees Dr. Kim leaving urgently and runs after him, knowing that Sunwoo is in danger. Sunwoo looks at the waves and starts going into the ocean, thinking how she is a problem for everyone she ever cared for. Dr. Kim, after searching for hours, sees Sunwoo's car and her clothes and notices her in the waves. He rushes to rescue her, and as he is reviving her, Tae Oh arrives at the beach and sees firsthand how much he had hurt her. But he knows he has no right to interfere, so he leaves like the failure he is. At home, Da-kyung and her parents are having a good dinner until Jun-young leaves and Jenny, Da-kyung's daughter, starts crying. Da-kyung runs to her and starts berating Jun-young for hurting his daughter. The poor boy tries to defend himself, but Tae Oh loses his calm and hits him. In the hospital, Sunwoo is recovering when she calls Jun-young. He picks up and Sunwoo realizes that her son needs her. So like a mama bear, she arrives at Da-kyung's house and asks Jun-young to get in the car, who is so terrified that he doesn't even wear his shoes. Da-kyung tries to stop him, but Sunwoo doesn't let her, and they both face each other. Sunwoo accuses her of clinging onto Jun-young to keep her marriage alive when she knows that she is unhappy. Da-kyung is in denial, but she knows that Sunwoo is telling the truth. She continues with the bomb that Tae Oh slept with her and leaves like an awesome heroine who just dropped a bomb on her enemy. When Tae Oh gets home, Da-kyung is waiting for him and asks him to come clean to her or else she will leave him forever. Tae Oh is honest with his second wife about sleeping with his ex-first wife, and Da-kyung leaves heartbroken, knowing that her worst fear has come true. The next morning, she decides that she will forgive Tae Oh but needs time to process the heartbreak, which Tae Oh gladly accepts, considering he has nothing to fall on. Sunwoo is too tired of Tae Oh's useless actions and goes to Chairman Yo to talk bluntly. She says that Da-kyung is too young to be wasting time on a loser like him, and she can do better in her life. She then takes Jun-young and leaves town for the time being, while also putting their house on sale. Meanwhile, when Da-kyung visits Sunwoo's house, she meets Ya-rim, who sneakily tells her that Tae Oh circles this house like a hawk. Later, Da-kyung asks Sunwoo to meet and accuses her of still being in love with Tae Oh. But the girl is projecting and all her delusions shatter when Sunwoo takes her to the house and shows her belongings. She points out that Tae Oh brought Da-kyung the same things she has because she was just a younger version of her. Da-kyung is destroyed knowing that her cheating husband is a pathological liar who will never stop cheating. The next day Tae Oh goes to pay, but all his credit cards decline. Hurriedly, he comes home only to find his suitcase on the ground and Chairman Yo kicking him to the curb like he should have 2 years ago. Da-kyung says she will never let him meet Jenny ever again because he is a cheater and a manipulator. Tae Oh beats himself and walks aimlessly, knowing that he just lost his lottery ticket and now has no one to blame apart from himself. Jun-young and Sunwoo are back from their break and start to relive their lives. However, Tae Oh's shadow is still everywhere as he roams around, drinks, and follows his ex-family like a maniac. One day Sunwoo returns from work when she sees a note from Tae Oh that he has taken Jun-young, and like every other mother, she panics and starts spam calling him. Meanwhile, Tae Oh explains that he will never abandon him like his father, and Jun-young looks at him and he can't believe his audacity. However, soon Sunwoo arrives, and she takes both of them for lunch, despite Jun-young's reluctance. At the restaurant, Tae Oh breaks down and starts unloading all his trauma and mistakes on Sunwoo, as if he wasn't an opportunist mooch who destroyed their life just for a young, richer girl. Later, for some reason, Tae Oh believes that him unaliving himself in front of his son will be a good idea, but he can't even do that right. And just as Jun-young finds out, Sunwoo rushes to him, and they both cry as if they won't stab each other in the throat at any given moment. The poor boy has had enough of his parents' midlife crisis dramas, so he runs away. Meanwhile, Sunwoo and Tae Oh run after him, but the little guy is impressively fast as he just can't be found. A year later, things get back to normal. Sunwoo and Tae Oh are trying to find peace without Jun-young, who still hasn't returned home. Sometime later, Sunwoo's pain finally ends when a boy walks into her house and she calls him her son. This brings us to the end of Sunwoo and Tae Oh's rocky game of marriage and betrayal. And with that, the movie ends. We hope you enjoyed our video. Watch the next recaps on the screen, and don't forget to subscribe for more amazing recaps. See you in the next one.